Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching GEEKCASTER. I'm Michael7 Michael. And today we got with us in the studio, Max.
Pleasure to be here.
How you doing, Max?
I'm great.
You like that wacky intro?
It was good. I didn't get the full of that when we were at Fanfare. It's good to be in the studio. It's good to really just get the full you up in here.
Yeah, so we met at Fanfare NYC. And that was a wonderful event.
Yeah, it was a hoot. It was actually the first con I'd ever attended as a vendor. I've been to, not a preposterous amount, we were talking before the shot. You go to quite a few cons. I'm very envious. I've gone to a couple here and there. That was definitely a unique one. It was on the smaller end. It was a lot of fun, and I was a vendor there for my project, which is RetroKingdom, selling import Japanese video games on the US market, which was definitely a little bit against the grain of like what was generally there, which was more like arts and sci-fi and different mixed media. I think I was the only video game seller, which was awesome for me. I had fun.
Wow. So, are you going to do more cons? Or you got the bug?
Yeah, I got the bug. You gave it. I mean, you definitely helped with that. It was really fun being on the show, doing a live cast there. It was pretty wild, like in the thick of it. Yeah, that helped a lot too. It was exciting. I kind of was like doing this out of a storefront, and that definitely has its own vibe to actually get out with the community and see like real fans that are really excited. And, oh my God, you have this. Oh my God, I remember this from which. Oh my God, I've always wanted to play this. Like, it has a completely different energy from like, all right, well, I'm going to put this on the shelf and this on the shelf and this one's up. And I go work by and I see what got sold. It was fun to actually be in the thick of it. And it really helped me connect with the public that's actually enjoying these games, which was very gratifying for me, because this is a fun passion project. It's actually fun to see people get passionate about it rather than just looking at it from a business sense.
How long have you been selling games? First of all, how long were you into games?
Into games.
And how long have you been selling retro games?
I got my original DMG fat gray Game Boy when I was 5 for my birthday. So I've been in it to win it. I've been here for a while.
Right.
The store is very new. I mean, it's less than a year. I think we've passed the 6-month mark. We've been around for a while, but like no legacy project.
Right.
The back end of the store, I'm working as an extension of an existing store called Tozai Exports, which is a really amazing but entirely web-based platform. It's an eBay store where my good friend Daniel Perry sells games from Japan. Mostly, there's a couple of mixed ones in there, but it's mostly Japanese games, largely for the American market that don't get exposed to that. He's been doing that for about 6 years, so he's been a real guru in teaching me this and getting me excited. Seeing it really like put a fresh face on it, because like I had all the old classic systems from gen after gen after gen, but I mean like right off the bat, it's like, oh my God, there's twice as many games as I realized there were. And also they're like coming at me with different labels, and I'm seeing boxes where I had never seen box games before, and I'm like, whoa. And it was so much cheaper, and it was like put a whole fresh coat of paint and then some on it. It was very cool to start interacting with him and seeing how this could really be a big project here. Because retro gaming now is very different from retro gaming when I was 5, and you could buy this stuff in a store. You go to Toys R Us and you could get a really cool custom, like special edition Game Boy or something. Now it's like you're paying out the nose, or you're like a lucky few that like find something weird at a garage sale with a grandma that doesn't know that she has $1 million game in her back pocket. It's like,
well, let's say the name of the store before we forget.
Sure.
It's RetroKingdom.
Yeah.
RetroKingdom, and what is the address?
It is 247 West 16th Street in Chelsea. It's between 7th and 8th Avenue, and that's a store within a larger garage sale called No Particular Hours, which is open Thursday through Sunday, roughly 11 to 7 with a little bit of wiggle room. I can always, and I'm happy to open up the store for people that want to talk off hours or interact with me on Facebook, or like want a private walk through the shop and the inventory. Like, I'm more than happy to accommodate the customer. And this is based out of a larger project called Tozai Exports, which is an entirely eBay-based platform. So this extension is all in person, all live, really trying to connect further with people in the American market that maybe want to try something new, maybe want to get some really cool stuff, some real great show pieces in their collection for like really like scratch, real cheap stuff. So it's fun. It's a really great way to interact with retro stuff on a very digestible level.
And we've got our Geek Cam.
Oh yeah.
Our Geek Cam. Looking at stuff here.
Woo!
Woohoo!
I made sure to bring some good props. We had Chrono Trigger that's complete in box at the convention, but I'm mixing up a little bit. This is going to be a little bit Price is Right.
Okay.
People watching and you as well probably recognize some of these games. You might not recognize them all, especially because some of them have very different label art from what the American versions were. I brought these with specific purpose. The common thread between all these games are representing 3 different systems. We've got Famicom, which is Nintendo, the original NES. We've got Super Famicom, which is Super Nintendo. And then we have the next gen N64, which the cartridges look very much the same. These are like trophy pieces in American collections. These are games that are highly sought after. These are games that are incredibly world famous. These are games that I would like to show as a tying thread that you could get for basically nothing if you want to play the Japanese versions, and they play exactly the same. You're not playing a different experience. It's very easy to either translate them. Some of them don't even need translations, and I want to show parity, like what's the order of price on these games if they were the American counterparts versus how much they cost to buy the Japanese counterparts. So if you want to get into retro gaming, you don't just have to I'm not going to spend $5,000 to buy this game because that's obviously insane. I'm going to just download a ROM. You could spend $5 or $10 and have a legit game, and then your friends come over and are hey, I'm going to crack the game into the system, which we were kind of talking about earlier. You have an old Atari, and it's not the same as having the new Atari with all the games programmed on it. It's kind of fun to clatter with the cards and get that. That's part of it. That's part of the experience. It's not just the game. It's oh shit, remember we had to blow in the carts and whatnot. That's part of the experience. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm too passionate.
Oh my! I love you get so excited.
Sorry.
But there are youngins watching.
Apologies.
Sorry. Okay.
I will be good. Promise.
So let's do it. Let's see. I think I definitely think this is the most expensive.
First of all, do you know what these games are? No hard feelings if you don't.
Well, this is Mega Man, right?
This is Mega Man, specifically No, this is from the X series. This is Mega Man X3. So this is a platformer. This is a Mega Man game.
Okay. Now what makes it so the X3?
X3, the X series, when Mega Man first came out, if you really think back to the Nintendo days, Mega Man was this little tiny sprite. He was this little round dude. The X series, he got hardcore. He got cool. He got superpowers. He's got big blaster guns. That's when the Mega Man series kind of took this leap to what it is now. It's kind of a bit anime. He's got big guns. He's got this heroic backstory. It's really a different thing. And this is a big Mega Man in the Mega Man franchise. We'll talk about the background of all these games, but I chose this game because in the realm of Super Nintendo games that are expensive but not particularly rare, this is top of the chart. This, and you have Harvest Moon is another very valuable but not rare game. When we knock out the NFS games, the not for sale games, I went to a tournament in Blockbuster in 1911. These are the kind of barring those, this is one of the most expensive Super Nintendo games.
Well, I'm thinking, let's see.
What else you got here?
I'm thinking...
I'm sure you can guess what this game's about.
Well, definitely, but I'm thinking...
yeah.
Because this is...
Please.
Let me do the...
Yeah, get into it. Have fun with it.
I'm thinking... It would be... Because a lot of people sleep on the sports games.
Good wisdoms.
Yeah.
None of these games are cheap, I'll give you that. If they were American versions. If they're American versions, we would be shattering them around on the table.
Right. No, definitely. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, then 4 and 5.
For the most part, this part is correct.
This part is correct.
Wait, which this is being the most expensive and this being least expensive? This is correct. This is the least expensive of the bunch. And if you were diligent enough in watching when we did it at the convention, this game, for the loose cartridge in English, retails for about $80 if you got a really good deal.
Wow.
The box copy, which I brought out, is about $250, which is not hard to find if it's in Japanese either. Then this one's the next rank up. Mother 2, otherwise more commonly in the US known as Earthbound, were both very, very famous RPGs from the SNES era. Incredibly famous RPGs. Still really hold up today. This is Toriyama's. This is Dragon Ball style. This is Ness from Smash Brother games. Later on, Mother 3 introduced Lucas, which is also in the Smash Brother games. Very familiar franchise in the US. This one's a little bit more expensive. It's about $100 for a loose card.
Wow.
These ones, you've actually got the order exactly opposite.
What?
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Now, why is that?
So moving up the charts,
Okay.
this is, as I was saying, one of the most expensive common not in the sense that you're finding a million copies, but common in the sense it's not limited. They printed a ton of Mega Man games.
Okay.
That being said, this is the best, arguably the best of the Mega Man games for Super Nintendo. This is about a $200 cartridge in English.
Wow.
Then, next is Super Bowling, which is an average at best sports game for N64. For whatever reason, I think people love collecting N64 in the US. I think one of the primary reasons, besides that N64 is a cool system, is that there weren't actually that many games for it in the US. Do you know how many games there were for the Super Nintendo? Like the whole library. Like, take a ballpark guess.
I'm thinking 300. More than that.
There were about 700 odd games in the US, and there were about 1,400 in Japan. So a lot of games didn't come out here. It's crazy, and like that's one of the reasons why it's cool to get Japanese games, because they're games that never came out here. The N64 has approximately 350 games in the US. So it's a lot of games, but it's not impossible to collect. But there are a few that are super duper expensive for whatever reason. Play Fighter is very expensive, which is a pretty familiar series. This one too, not a very good game. Very, very expensive. This game's a little bit more than this. This is probably about a $225 for a loose. Like $500 for a box copy. This is the real. Do you know what this game is? Are you familiar with Nintendo games? This is not. Doesn't look anything like the alternative version, though.
No, I have no idea this
No
one.
worries. In the world of Nintendo, which there's a huge spectrum of cost for old school Nintendo games that did not look like this. They were gray, they were bigger, they were not blue. The art didn't look like this. This game is known in the US as Stadium Events. An incredibly valuable Nintendo game. Do you want to take a guess at how much this game cost loose for an English copy? It's higher than this one, which is $230.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lot higher.
A lot higher.
Like shoot for the moon.
1,200.
11 grand.
11 grand?
At least.
Wow.
And boxed, insane. I think the last one at auction that was found mint in box, like a sealed one, went for over like 40 grand. This is a crazy expensive game. It's not that good. It's like a Nintendo level sports game. It's like you're not gonna like remember that time I played the game where I was 8 pixels and I was jogging? Like You're not gonna have a blast. But it's stupid rare, so people love it. This game, and then so you get the spectrum. These are very expensive games if they were English. These are all Japanese versions. Some of them, like this one the label art's a little bit different, but it looks a little bit different. This one, label art's a little different, but like the cartridges kind of this one looks very different. Now, if I was to organize these in order of what they actually retail for these Japanese versions, where this is sports games, there's no plot, so you can just pop this in your system and play. Sports game, no plot, plop it in the system and play. Platformer, no plot, plop it into the system and play. Some of the most famous RPGs in the world have been translated 1,000 times. You can put a translation patch on these so you can play them versus the English version very easy. And I'd be happy to teach people how to do this. These games kind of rank out like this. That would be there. Be like this. These games would all be the same price. These are about $10 games.
Wow.
This game's a little bit more, maybe like 12, because people love Earthbound. And this is a pretty popular game to import because it's a platformer, so it's so easy to play in English. You're just jumping around. This is about a $20 game. But comparing that, I mean, this one's just off the charts, but like, 10% of the cost of the game. And it's the same game. It's the same exact game. Like, I can't blame people for... Yeah.
What's the point then of spending that much? Is it just purely
gotta collect it. Let's like
Just to make
collectormania.
like with comic books, I just want to save and make money and hold on to it and make money, or
I guess, but if you're spending 11 grand on a loose cartridge, like, I don't know, the sky's not the limit. Like, at some point, people are gonna say, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not gonna find money bags from the Monopoly game. Oh, I'd love to buy your game for $40 million. Like, there's so few out there. Some people get really obsessed with making a full set of a system, and that's like a cool goal, and like more power to you, but it doesn't have to be so painful. If you were to swap out just a few games in that collection, like a complete N64 card, you swap that out, you're saving over $200, and it's the exact same game. Like,
do you find that the collectors ruin it for the people that just love to play games?
No, I mean, there's a little bit of that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think collectors are great. I think they do a lot for the community. I think like collectors are the fans that are dedicated enough to like write a translation patch for Mother 2 so people can do this stuff. There are some collectors that I think do bad. I think the type of collecting is bad is when you're like scheming on pre-orders on Best Buy or GameStop. I'm going to buy 50 copies of the limited edition game and then flip them the day of. Like, that works and people know that and people do that. And I don't like that kind of collectors where it's just like, I'm going to, like, people do that. If selling video games is your business, sure, you can meta game and be like, all right, I know everyone wants the day of copy of this video game, so I'm going to hoard them and like flip them for twice as much for the brief window where people are panicking to get a copy. That kind of collecting I don't think it's nice. I don't think it's friendly. It's obviously going to make one person a lot of money. It's obviously going to hurt a lot of other people who want that weird, rare thing. But the people that are collecting like harmlessly, I think this offers a healthy alternative, as well as the people that are just getting into it. We had plenty of people at the convention that like weren't diehard collectors. They were far younger than me. I think one of our customers was like 8 years old. He was just like a little dude, and he's like, I really love Game Boy. Game Boy is really cool. I want to get into it. Like, I bought a couple of games for you, and I'm really excited to play them. And that's not the person you're trying to shaft with like, oh, well, if you want a copy of Pokemon Blue, I mean, you got like $70 in your wallet. Like a little boy, like, give me a ton of money for, like, no, like, this is accessible and fun, and that's what the crux of video gaming should be, not this. If you want to collect rare things, that's cool, but I don't think that's the general point of video games is to hoard and make money.
So for you, why do all that? Why sell games?
Good question.
Why? Because you could just collect, you could just play.
And I do that.
Yep.
I find it very fun, and I think it's a cool way that I can give back to a community that at heart I really like. I think there's a lot of cool stuff in video games. I think there's a lot of really interesting fantasy. There's a lot of great shows that have come out of these video games. There's a lot of really great inspirations, artists that contribute to these games. There's a lot of really cool people who I love to just talk about video games with, and I think this is a great thing I can give back to the community to say, hey, there's options out there. You don't just have to like go on eBay and suck up whatever price is presented to you. There are import games that are very cheap and very readily available and kind of cool in their own unique way. You're like building your like little like man cave or your secret fortress of video games and your cool displays and stuff, and that's fun, and a lot of people like doing that. I do that too. But actually kind of goes a little bit further when you have something really weird, and the really weird, unique thing doesn't have to be like, oh, check out this Funko Pop figure. There's only 4 of them made and it costs $8,000 and I bought one of them. Like, it could be something that like, look, I found this thing from abroad and I brought it here and people have never seen it before. That's kind of cool in its own right too. And that's a way that you can do that without having to get chewed out for ridiculous random fees.
Right.
And I'm happy to coordinate that for people. I think that's a way that we can keep retro gaming alive, which is something that I personally find fun. I think it's got a lot of kick that modern gaming in a lot of ways don't have. I definitely have some modern games that I love, but a lot of retro games I think still really hold up and are really fun, and new people getting on the scene. I want to be able to have that 5-year-old bright-eyed experience I have when I was playing funny games on my Game Boy. It shouldn't be like, oh, just because that was a long time ago, no one can do that again unless they're willing to sign over a second mortgage to buy an old cartridge.
What do you think about esports?
Ooh, good questions.
Is it, first of all, is it really a sport? That's the argument.
That's hard. Are lightsabers a sport?
It is now.
I know. Wasn't the French fencing team said it was?
For all of you out there that don't know.
Yeah, it was hot news. Hot
news that lightsaber fencing is now, what do you call it? Lightsabering?
Lightsaber.
Because technically you say it's.
Can you not use Star Wars references? Is that illegal?
Because
of the licensing?
You can.
So you call it like lightsaber battling, lightsaber fencing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's a sport in France.
And so that's super cool.
It's an official sport, so.
I think it's good. I don't play that many games competitively, but I got tons of years of Smash under my belt. I've done that stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good as long as you frame it in a good way. I think when you box out, like playing games online, as I'm sure anyone who has, it can be rough. Like sometimes the curve is either you're really bad or you're really good, and you get knocked out immediately unless you're at that level. As long as people are having fun, esports are cool. It's another, just like getting retro games into the mix are a good way to like expand games like a legitimate and fun and interesting platform with a lot of legs. Esports is another one. I think the only bad things that could come out of it are if esports people aren't nice to their fans or if they're like not nice to other players.
They're making millions of dollars.
They're making a ton of money.
Millions of dollars.
That's the one thing I fear. Like there's a lot of really great content creators in the world. I don't want to set people up with aspirational goals like I've got to play this video game for 20 hours a day because I'm going to be the best and I'm going to get sponsored and I'm going to be esports hero and I'm going to make $1 billion. Like, I don't think that's a healthy thing to set yourself up. Like, if you can actually pull that off, more power to you. But kind of like...
But to be fair, isn't that the same thing with football, basketball, soccer?
Totally.
They're making tons of money playing games.
I would say even if you aren't a pro level physical sports player, you're at least getting a little bit of like active like physical participation and health out of it. You boil that out of the mix, you're just playing video games indefinitely. Not that it's bad, but I think you realize what you're investing and realize like esports, people aren't making millions of dollars just because of the first person to play COD Blops or whatever. Like they're really good.
Right.
And you just gotta, I think, just generally speaking, because I work with a lot of youth and people first entering the job markets and people looking at new careers and pivoting for my primary work, and I try to set people with reasonable expectations for what you should and you shouldn't be doing professionally. And I just don't want to see people grinding away at a video game because they think they're gonna make a ton of money just right off the bat. Because there's a lot that goes into that. So I think reasonable expectations are. Esports is fine. Esports is funky. I'm not gonna pull punches with esports. I think esports is cool.
So how does someone say, hey, you know what? I want to go to your store.
Yeah.
And I want to jump in.
Ooh.
And I want to get a whole bunch of retro games.
Love it.
And of course you get that at Retro Game Kingdom.
RetroKingdom. Yeah.
Kingdom.
You can do that. I mostly specialize in carts, but we're now starting to bring more systems because one thing we really learned at the convention was the cool thing about these carts is if you have these systems, you have the American versions most likely, if you're living in the US, you can modify them to play Japanese games. A little funky fact that I think is actually pretty cool, like we're talking about systems that came out in the mid-90s.
Correct.
In the mid-90s, like now, like you got your Nintendo Switch, there's a lot of cool games that came out for the Nintendo Switch that aren't in our region. And like you have to like mess with the settings and you have to like lie and say you're in another region and whatnot. There's like digital region locks that prevent you from playing foreign games. And on like disc systems too, like if you buy a PAL version of a game or a Japanese version of a game and you stick it in a more recent version of a PS2, it was like, nah, that's not our region. There are now data locks that keep you from playing foreign games. Back in the day, they didn't have that technology. Their technology to keep you from playing other regions' game was a piece of plastic in the way. So you just have to remove that piece of plastic, and it's like, oh, all right, that's cool. There's no piece of plastic. Sure. So you can either do that, and that's kind of fun because you get to open up your system, or you open up the cartridge, or you change the back to be a different shape, and it's like not hard, and it's not going to break your system, and it's a little cool DIY project. Or you can get a Game Shark or a Game Genie or any one of those things that basically raises the cartridge above the cart slot, and you stick it on there, and now there's suddenly nothing blocking it. Both work. That's something I originally started doing at the store, but more and more people are just like, no, I want this. Some people just don't have the systems. They're like, I don't have an N64. Like,
right.
That was before my time, actually, which is now a real thing. And some people just like, no, there's some cool Game Boys out there, there's some cool systems out there. So we're going to start bringing systems to the table as well. You could always special order. You can always talk to me. We have tons of systems on the eBay platform. And if you speak with me, I'd be happy to gladly get some dollars chopped off that. We're really trying to find ways to get games to people and get gamers equipped with real stuff so they can have a lot of fun and not get really chewed out for high prices but we're also going to start putting more stuff more systems in the store. And something we had brainstormed at the convention, which people were really excited about, was kind of like, loot crates. You sign up for a subscription and get some random stuff in the mail. We want to do that with consoles where yeah, it would be cool.
That would be amazing.
And it wouldn't be like a loot crate, like every month you get a new video game system. Like, we could do that too, but my pitch was, all right, you want an N64 because you don't have one, or maybe you want a new one. Well, instead of just buying an N64 online, if I'm mailing you one from Japan, instead of packing it with packing peanuts and bubble wrap, or if I packed it with gachapon and candy and snacks and chips, and the packing peanuts were also something fun in there, and I didn't tell you what little action figures and toys and things were in the mix, and that would be like a couple of bucks extra, and it would be like an added bonus in addition to also getting a brand new system. And that's something we're also happy to coordinate. And people are really receptive to that at the convention. So they're like, all right.
So is this happening? Are you doing it?
Yeah, I'll gladly do that. That's something that we put into the mix. That's something, too, in the U.S. I mean, they're importing snacks and candy and cool things from Japan. You sometimes find them. We're really lucky to be in New York. There's like lots of cool delis. There's specialty stores that have, you get capsule toys and things from Japan. They're super expensive, like for no reason. Like these things, you go to a 7-Eleven Japan and everything's like $1 or $2. And even when you add in the shipping, like they don't need to be as expensive as they often are for people here. And I go to Japan, I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to go to Japan quite frequently. And I'm like, why aren't there any capsule toy machines here? I actually just saw one. I had only knew about one capsule toy machine in all of New York, and it was like buried in Elizabeth Center in Manhattan's Chinatown.
Wow.
I saw one in Barnes & Noble, but it was like super expensive. It was like worth a brand one. I'm like, Facebook or contact me directly, and I'll gladly hook people up. This isn't...
Okay, so give them your website and your email and your contact.
Sure, gladly. The Facebook page is RetroKingdom. That's like the primary social platform that I've been operating on. That will expand that in time. And Tozai Exports, Tozai, Tozai EXP, is on Insta. And if you Google Tozai Exports, you'll get our website. It's both of our pages. You can also look up Tozai, Tozai Exports on eBay, and there's lots of great stuff on there. And like, talk to me. Like, if you see something, you're like, wow, that's really cool, but it's a little bit high. Like, we can work on prices. We can put together custom packages. We can do like a gotcha system. You can meet me at the shop. You want to send a message. You want to like, you have questions about systems. You want to bring me your console to repair, to modify. Like, we're here. This is a labor of love. We're not making hand over fist dollars here. We're like really excited to bring cool stuff to the market and to really get people energized about retro gaming, because it's something that me and my partner are really passionate about, and I think there's a lot of good stuff here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Max.
My pleasure.
Yep, and we're live, so you're seeing a lot of things happen, but we're live.
Woo.
And you could check me out, or any questions, if you want to get involved, if you want to intern, be a part of GeekCaster, hit me up at Michael7Michael on Instagram. And of course, you could always hit us up on GeekCaster on Instagram, or GeekCaster at GeekCaster.com. Thank you so much. You're watching GeekCaster.
Woo.